Good morning, fellow producers and audio engineers. Seems like I'm showing myself online only on request. This tutorial has been requested by a friend of mine, and this tutorial is about how to make a tutorial. So without further ado, let's fire up some music. There you go. Just to bear in mind that this tutorial is done as is, which means there won't be any cuts, any edits. Every transition, every sound you hear, every slide you will in a second see has been done and produced by the software I'm using for making tutorials. So this tutorial will have 5 different parts. Part 1 will explain what you need and where to get it. Part 2 will show and explain how to set up the path of your audio signal so everything will run smoothly without any cropping. Part 3 will take on video, how to set it up, how to tweak it to your needs, etc. And part 4 will focus on setting up your DAW so the software you are running won't have to fight over the audio drivers, which is the most true when it comes down to ASIO or ASIO drivers. We all know that applications are quite greedy when it comes down to audio drivers, and if one of them is running it, no other application have access to it. Part 5, I will briefly show you a little trick how to make your tutorial sound even better with the use of the tools you already have. So let's dive straight into it. The part 1 will explain all about the free stuff you need. So you will definitely need a voice meter if you're using and ASIO drivers. You will need an open broadcaster software to deal with your video, and mini host modular if you are into the fancy stuff. So first of all, let's go on to VB Audio software. Now the VB Audio software have 2 different versions of voice meter. Voice meter standard comes in, as if you can see right now, comes with 2 hardware inputs, which you can plug anything you like. They suggest a headset or hardware player. It might be iPod, might be your tape recorder, might be your old CD player, whatever you would like to hook up into voice meter. This is the way to do it, through the hardware ins. You also have one in which is the virtual in, and whatever goes, whatever is produced in your computer sound wise will be fed into that computer. That means you will feed into that channel your audio device, your audio software, recording software, editing software, your DAW, your MP3 player, your video player if you want to. And the standard voice meter also have 2 different outputs. One of them is a physical output which will feed your feedback your audio interface and then your speakers. The other one, which is a virtual one, will feed your recording device, your recording software. Also, if you would like to feed it to video streaming software like we will do with OBS, this is the one, this is the out we will use for it. Voice meter also have a bigger brother which is called Banana, and if you will see, Banana is slightly more advanced, or maybe slightly is not a good word, it's quite advanced. It comes with 1 extra hardware input, 1 extra virtual input, and plenty of extra outputs. It also comes with a tape recorder. We'll talk about that in a second. So voice meter, standard or Banana. Truth to be told, the OBS, which is the software for recording video with the audio, of course, has its own ability to deal with the audio. However, it can deal only with the hardware, with the physical inputs and outputs. So if you're dealing with ASIO drivers, you will have to use the voice meter. If you're just a blogger who would like to record himself talking about stuff you're interested in, I think just OBS will do the job, and you won't need a voice meter. However, as I said, if you use the audio drivers, and we all do, there might be a Cubase, might be Wavelab, might be Fruity Loops, then you will need the voice meter to deal with your audio drivers and your signal from your applications. So standard, as it says, the name says everything. Standard is standard. If you are not hardcore streamer or hardcore gamer, I think standard is the way to do, and it's much less power hungry, much less resources hungry than Banana. If you are a hardcore streamer and your machine, your computer, your PC, your laptop, or whatever you have for recording or editing your video, is powerful, then yes, Banana would be the way to go for it. Next stop, OBS, Open Broadcaster Software. Now it also comes in two different flavors, Classic or Studio. You can download both of them from the obsproject.com. First you will have to choose your operating system. It's multi-platform, so it comes on Windows, Mac and Linux, and you will have to choose the version. Classic version comes with also with the browser source, CLR browser source. If you're into programming, that's the way to go. The studio version, which I am using at this very moment for recording this tutorial, also comes as is, and with the browser source. What I would suggest, both of the softwares come free of charge. They are freeware software. However, both authors could use some donations. So if you will go back to the page, you can voice meter page, you can find the donate the button right here on Open Broadcaster. The little button in the very corner, the green button, will also let you donate to the authors. Now, part one will explain everything about the voice meter. However, let me first explain the whole audio path, because it is crucial for you to understand what's going on with your audio signal. So of course, whatever you plug into your audio device, if it's audio interface or sound card, a microphone or auxiliary input, that as a source will feed into audio interface. Your audio interface, that signal, among other sources such as DAW, gameplay, Skype, media player, as I explained before, will feed into voice meter. Then voice meter will feed everything as a virtual source to video recorder and as a physical source back to your interface. Now, audio interface will feed your speakers and headphones, or a tape recorder if you have one, and at the same time, recording software, in your case OBS, in our case OBS, will combine the audio signal from voice meter with the video source from your graphic card, encode it and save it on your drive. The part two, as I promised, the voice meter. The voice meter will I will explain three main subjects. That will be, first of all, interface setup, how to set up your audio interface or sound card. Secondly, voice meter setup on its own, and I will touch on VBAN, which is absolute hardcore toy for all the game streamers. So let's have a look at it. Now you can see me. Hello. As I said, this tutorial is recorded as is, so if you will see my missus wondering or the electrician trying to fix something, just say hi. Voice meter, as you can see, I'm using Banana, has 3 inputs, 2 virtual inputs and 5 outputs. 3 of them are hardware outputs, the physical outputs, and 2 of them are virtual outputs. So first of all, what you will have to do is click on your output device and choose one of the availables. In my case, I'm using my Zoom UAC8, so I just clicked on that. This way, everything which comes out from that channel will be dealt by my Zoom. You could set up 2 additional sound cards, so 2 additional sound devices if you wish. I'm just leaving as it is, why I will explain later. So additional 2 outs for 2 additional hardware devices, additional sound cards, maybe the stream capturer, stream recorder. If you would like to feed it somewhere else, you are free to do that. You have 3 different options. I'm using only one of them. Now another 2 outputs I'm using is, if you will listen for a second, I'll just shut up. My music is feeding to input number 1, which is called B1, and my voice is fed into output B2. Why I'm doing it, I will explain later. It all will be revealed. Now let's set the sample rate and a depth. You will have to go to menu, and in system settings options, you will see that your audio Zoom or audio interface you have chosen, in my case it's Zoom, since we already clicked it on A1 and fed it to that output, it's already showing here. Now there's plenty of tutorials online which will suggest that you're supposed to set up in your system by changing the playback devices and changing your recording devices to set it to your default, to set voice meter as your default recording and as your default playback device. I found it's not true. You can have, as you can see, my USB audio codec is my default device, and I'm still using Zoom to operate for my recording and streaming through voice meter and OBS. So let's go back to system settings of a voice meter. Voice meter, as you can see, already shows you which device it's using. Now we will have to tweak it a little bit. If you will see here, patch ASIO inputs to strips. Now whatever you will see here, I have 8 inputs, so I have quite a variety to choose from. However, hardware input number 1 will deal with the ins from your audio interface ins number 1 and 2. You can change it if you want to by clicking. You can just go and scroll through them. By default, it's number 1 will deal with number 1 and 2. The in number 2 will deal with the physical inputs on your audio device number 3 and 4 if you have them. If not, it will be again 1 and 2. In number 3, the hardware input number 3 on the mixer will deal with, in my case, just input number 8, because this is where I hooked up my microphone. However, if you wish, you can just go and scroll through all of them and set another one if you wish, if you would like to. Now the important thing is to leave the buffering ASIO by default. If you would like to adjust it, go through, click on the name of your audio interface and just simply adjust it through here. This way you also will adjust the buffer size, and the buffer size will be dealt by your card, not by the software. If you're tempted to play with the settings, feel free to do so. I found that float type is most let's say efficient, and also engine mode and normal you can switch it to Swift. If your machine is not powerful enough, you can switch it to Swift. However, the normal mode is quite efficient and records quite a good audio quality. Now, if you will have a look again here, I set my sampling rate on 48,000 or 48 kilohertz, if you will. This is very important to make sure that your audio device sample rate is set to your normal regular sample rate you work with on your DAW. If it's 44.1, set it to 44.1. If it's 48 kilohertz, set it to 48 kilohertz. It is absolutely crucial that you set your sample rate of your device to the same sample rate which you use in your recording or editing software. The last but not least, preferred main sample rate also got to be set to the same sample rate as your DAW and your card, so in this case 48 kilohertz. And this is about it when it comes down to, at least for now, system setup. There's couple of things I got to explain to you. So as I said at the beginning when I was explaining the audio path, your signal from your microphone will go into your audio interface, then your audio interface will feed it through the channel. And think about that channel as your normal regular channel on your DAW, no matter is it Cubase, Studio One, Pro Tools, Ableton, or whatever you're using. Think about that channel as your normal stripe. So this bit you can set your ins. If you don't want drivers, if you don't want Windows media drivers or any other drivers apart from ASIO to deal with it, even though you could set it up, just leave it as a removes device selection, and then it just simply your ASIO drivers will deal with the audio signal. And I found that ASIO actually is the best, as it gives the lowest latency. Then your signal will go into IntelliPan, and the IntelliPan is the little toy you can set your voice into. So if I will play about that a little bit, as you can see, this one is called the modulator, and you can modulate your voice up to your tweaking. The more you go to the right, the quicker modulation is. The more you go to the left, the deeper the modulation is, and the higher you go, the bigger the depth of the stereo. And if you don't want to sound like a robotic person, just switch it off by double click. If you will right click on it, you will go into position of your audio signal. Since I'm using the monophonic microphone, if I'll switch to the left, I will have left channel fed by my microphone, and the delay will be fed onto my right hand side. And again, the same situation with the left side. If you would like to sound a bit further down, which add a bit of an echo, just slide it up. I'll just leave it in the default position. Another right click will bring you into the voice color. As you can see, I set it just below the line, and the horizontal line is the threshold when the echo will kick in. But starting from the start, this is a default position, and as you can hear, it's quite dark and dull. The further towards the left you will go, the deeper signal is. It works like a low pass filter. Quite opposite works towards the right, but however, this is middle frequency. If you would like to add some high frequency, you've got to go up. So I think this is the most natural position. Now your audio signal will be fed into audibility unit, which can play which has a compressor and a gate. This gate, I've got to say, works a little bit like combined with the compressor, a little bit like the expander. I found that the further up you go with the gate, the bigger cuts it gives. However, the compressor also brings the floor noise, and I will explain. You see, if I'm talking and the gate is engaging the releasing, you still can hear my back noise, and I'm using the condenser microphone, which is not the best idea for this purpose. I should be using my dynamic microphone, however I couldn't find it. I don't know, where is it? So I set my my compressor a little bit like let's say just a notch, so it's compressed slightly, only just I'm not peaking, and the gate is on 5.7. I found that anywhere in the very middle, anything between 4 and 6 should work fine. Now your signal is fed to the fader, and a fader does what every single fader does. So the more I will get, the quieter I will go. Going over the 0 is never a good idea. I apologize for that. The last but not least, you will see on the right hand side of the fader, you will see you have buttons, and this is where your signal from that fader is fed. So if you would like to fed that signal onto your onto channel A1, which in my case is my hardware output on my Zoom, so you know I can monitor and hear myself when I'm talking, you would have to highlight this one. If you set up any other devices and you would like to feed this particular signal to another device, here you go, you just have to highlight it, and that's it. It will be fed, as you can see, to another device, even though I haven't set up anything yet over there. It's still feeding the signal to that channel. Same with the virtual output. I'm feeding my voice only onto the B2 signal, B1 sorry signal, as the other one is, sorry, B2. You see, I'm bubbling. My voice, my microphone, my hardware input 3 is fed only to B2 output. B2 and B1, they're both virtual outputs. However, you can separate your audio, and I will explain later why. What's the purpose of me doing this? So my voice is fed to B2. That's why I have it highlighted. However, if I wanted to feed it to B1, I would just click on a B1, and it will be fed on both channels, which I can send then wherever I like, to two different recording software, two different recording devices, whatever I'm using software wise on my computer. I could just simply feed it to that device. Also mono button, which is quite handy when it comes down to mono devices like like microphone. If you will see I've unticked it, you can hear me only on the left, because left is just generally mono. However, if I engage mono button, you can hear me both through both speakers. Now solo and mute, self-explanatory. I don't think I have to explain that too much. Now let's focus on the virtual inputs. Whatever you have in your computer running, like your DAW, like your media player, MP3 player, will be fed into these channels, whichever of them you will set up. This one will receive the audio. Right now I'm playing music from Wavelab, just to prove the point. Through ASIO drivers from Wavelab, the music goes into a voice meter virtual input. You have another one which is called Voicemeeter Virtual Aux input, and you could hook something else into it if you would like to, but I can't see the reason why I should play music from two different sources at this very moment. And again, the panel on the left will decide where to feed it. My music, my background music from Wavelab is fed into that channel and fed to B1, so I have B1 fed only with my background music and B2 with only my voice. Let's go through the channel. As you can see, you have a little equalizer, only treble, middle and bass is to be dealt with. It's very simple, very limited. You cannot adjust the Q, you cannot adjust anything apart from gain. The middle panel will decide where that signal is fed. Might be fed into a left, right, front or rear channel. That's in case if you are planning on feeding your audio signal to 5.1 or 7.1 even. If you're feeding it into stereo, let me just slightly move it for a second. Just double click it and it will return into normal position. And again, this signal, same as the other one, might be fed into the virtual outputs or to the physical outputs. And right now, as you can see, I'm feeding all of my channels which I'm using onto device number A1, which is my hardware zoom in my output, so I can hear it, I can monitor it, and also into the virtual outs, which I'm one of them I'm using for OBS, where I'm feeding OBS with it, and the other one is also feeding OBS. However, one is feeding the vocal and one is feeding the music. Why am I separating it? It will turn up in a second. So the Voicemeeter, I think we already have we talk about interface setup, Voicemeeter setup. We also have one more thing to talk about, which is a VBAN. Now, VBAN is a hardcore tool for hardcore streamers. If you haven't noticed yet, in the corner there, right next to menu, you have a VBAN menu. It's quite powerful toy, I've got to say. To engage the VBAN, you got to just click on the button in the top left corner, and it will engage the VBAN. Now, this is for this toy is for dealing with all the streams. If you would like to stream your voice, if you do the live podcasts, or if you do any kind of web seminars, Google Hangouts, or you need anything like that to stream your signal to, this is the place to do. All if you would like to use the external computer, like your laptop for example, and you have the Voicemeeter installed on it, you could feed actually additional audio sources from that laptop into your computer, normal computer. So in order to feed anything from a laptop onto your computer, you would have to, of course, engage the channel stream name, call it as you wish. I called it laptop. My laptop is hooked up into my O2 local IP. Also, you would have to adjust the port. You will have to adjust, you won't have a chance to adjust neither sample rate, channels or format, as this is dealt by the laptop. You will have to set all these items on the laptop before you send your stream to your machine. The only thing what you can actually adjust here is your network quality. You could set it on optimal. If you have a fast broadband, set it to fast. If you have a medium broadband, set it to medium. If your TalkTalk client or America Online, set it to slow. Same thing works for you streaming somewhere else. Again, you will have to set this source, engage it, set to source. Now you could you can choose from all 5 of your, let me show you, all 5 of your outputs. The first 3, as you remember, are the physical outputs, which you would feed somewhere, to your sound card, to additional sound cards, to third sound card if you wish. So this is the place to set it up. As you can see, they all labeled as they are. So it's a bus A1, A2, A3, and which are physical, and bus B1 and B2, which are the virtual ones. So whatever will go through my B2 will be fed into this one. So stream name it as you wish. I called it webinar. I have put an IP address which I just made up, and I use the regular internet browser port, which is 80, and this is the place where you actually can set your sample rate and the format, your bit depth. So you have a choice of several sample rates. All depends how much and how many sample rates your audio interface is capable of handling. So if you would like to stream in 96 kilohertz, there you go. You can, however, remember that we are at this moment using only 48 kilohertz, so the best thing to do is just set it for the same sample rate. However, if you would like to downgrade it, feel free to do so. It all depends on your broadband, on your bandwidth. This is completely independent from your Voicemeeter banana. You can play and feed the audio stream in 48 kilohertz and send it to the internet in any other setup sample rate as you wish. Channels, you have if you have 7.1, if you would like to feed it as a 7.1, feel free to do so. I'm feeding only a stereo channel, also bit depth between 16 and 24 bits. Now again, your network quality or your network speed will define a quality. So for this purpose, I just set it to optimal. Every time you adjust anything, the audio engine will just restart. That's why you've heard the drop down.